Dalvin Cook is cut and Alexander Mattison is the new lead dog in this offense. So I just wanted to make a quick video talking about my thoughts on Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison. Before we hop into it though, if you guys could, go down and drop a like on this video. I'm answering every single comment. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know down below. And subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that though guys, let's hop right into it. I want to start with Alexander Mattison because Alexander Mattison is now stepping into a situation where he potentially will be the 3-down workhorse back. Yes, there are some concerns that they may elect to bring in another cheap running back. I mean, you have guys like Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt still on the block. And yeah, these are older options, but at the same time, it's really hard for an offense like this to go out with Alexander Mattison as your running back 1 and then Ty Chandler and Kenny Nguanu as your running back 2 and 3. I think both of those guys are absolutely worth roster spots in Dynasty, but at the same time, you don't see many offenses rolling out with their backups being Ty Chandler and Kenny Nguanu. Either way, Alexander Mattison is stepping into a role where he will potentially be a 3-down workhorse back, as we've seen just about every time Dalvin Cook has been out, whether it's been due to injuries or what have you. Over the past 2 seasons, when Dalvin Cook has missed time, Alexander Mattison has been nothing short of absolutely phenomenal, averaging just under 80 rushing yards a game and another 36 receiving yards a game. And yeah, it's not the biggest sample size, it's only 6 games, but at the same time, this Minnesota Vikings offense has proven that they want to go out and utilize Alexander Mattison as much as possible when Dalvin Cook is out. Furthermore, this is an offense that historically has used a bell cow running back. I mean, we've seen that with Dalvin Cook over the last 4 seasons. Now Alexander Mattison is stepping into that role. I think he should be phenomenal. Right now, over on Underdog Fantasy, I've seen his ADP rise, going from around 74 pre-cut to now going in the mid-50s. And before I get into this next section, I want to ask you guys down below, J.K. Dobbins or Alexander Mattison, Miles Sanders or Alexander Mattison, Dameon Pierce or Alexander Mattison. Let's dive into it and see exactly where Alexander Madison's ADP should be. I mean, for one, I think he is much more valuable than Dameon Pierce. First of all, he's a much better pass catcher than Dameon Pierce. And second of all, this is somebody stepping into a much better offensive system. While Dameon Pierce was great last year, I think Alexander Mattison is stepping into a much better offense with a higher receiving workload. And that's why I give the nod to Alexander Mattison. Moving on, we got Miles Sanders next, and I also give the nod to Alexander Mattison. Right now, Miles Sanders is sitting at an ADP of 62, with Alexander Mattison at 71, but that will continue to skyrocket. I, again, lean Alexander Mattison, although I think you could make a case for Miles Sanders. I mean, in Miles Sanders' defense, he was somebody who came out and had over 1,200 rushing yards last season. He can catch the ball very effectively as well, although we haven't seen it under Jalen Hurts. Miles Sanders is a premier pass catcher at the NFL level, having over 500 yards in his rookie season. So I could understand giving the nod to Miles Sanders, especially considering the fact that he has more job security in this offense. I mean, they just went out and paid him 4 years, $24 million, which is great at the running back position, and also means they are not going to bring in anyone else. Whereas with Alexander Mattison, there is a little bit of a worry with Kareem Hunt. But overall, this Vikings offense, we saw how electric it was last season, and Alexander Mattison is not going to be facing stacked boxes. You simply can't when you got Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson in this offense. So I, again, give the nod to Alexander Mattison. Now here is really where it starts to get tough. We got J.K. Dobbins and Alexander Mattison. And I slightly give the nod to Alexander Mattison yet again. I think Alexander Mattison is going to be stepping into this 3-down workhorse role, which is exactly what you like to see from a running back. He has the receiving volume that J.K. Dobbins simply doesn't. But again, you could totally make a case for J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is an electric offense where even though they did switch OCs and now are running Todd Monken's scheme, which is much more pass heavy, at the same time, J.K. Dobbins is still going to be electric running the football. And when you have a rushing quarterback like Lamar Jackson, that often increases the efficiency for the running back. That's why we've seen J.K. Dobbins consistently be able to average over 5.5 yards per carry whenever he's played. So I could understand giving the nods to J.K. Dobbins from an efficiency standpoint, but at the same time, Mattison, again, has the receiving volume and is in arguably almost as good of an offense as this Baltimore Ravens team. So now we move on to Alexander Mattison or Joe Mixon. And here is where I really think I start to lean Joe Mixon. Well, Joe Mixon was not a great running back last year. In fact, he was one of the worst running backs I had seen on the field in a long time, holding a bell cow role. At the same time, this is somebody who's going to have over 200 attempts running the football, especially considering there is nobody else in this backfield. I mean, the next backup is Travion Williams and Chase Brown. But at the same time, Joe Mixon was elite as a receiving back last season. Well, he wasn't that efficient. He was able to garner 75 targets and 60 receptions receiving the football, which is absolutely great. We should see this O-line take a step up as well, although I did say that last season, and unfortunately, they still looked terrible. But at the same time, they should be taking a step up, and you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to be able to spread the field. I mean, if Joe Mixon is a terrible running back, so be it, but he's going to be getting he could potentially be getting 300 touches, which is exactly what you like to see for a running back, especially going at an ADP of 53. So that's kind of where around I draw the line for Alexander Mattison. I could see his ADP passing J.K. Dobbins, passing Miles Sanders, passing Dameon Pierce, and he will probably start to go in the high 50s in terms of ADP. I'm not 100% sure he'll pass J.K. Dobbins, but for sure, he's taking over Dameon Pierce and Miles Sanders. Now moving on to Dalvin Cook. I still think Dalvin Cook is a supreme value, even though this is somebody who will potentially fall in underdog drafts. Right now, he has an ADP of 76.4. We've, again, seen nothing but great production from Dalvin Cook every single season he's been on the field. I mean, his worst season in the last 4 years was 2 years ago when he finished as the running back 16 despite missing 4 games. So Dalvin Cook really is a game changer at the position. I think whatever team goes out to acquire Dalvin Cook will most likely be a contender, because if you are not a contender, why are you going to bring in a short-term asset like Dalvin Cook? Like, let's say, for instance, you're the Houston Texans. Why would you go out and sign Dalvin Cook when you can go out and lock up players that are in your long-term plans and help you win 2-3 years down the road, where Dalvin Cook is not necessarily going to do that? So, while Dalvin Cook's situation might be a bit murky, he might end up on a team like the Jets with Breece Hall, he might end up on a team like the Broncos with Javonte Williams. At the same time, there is small potential that he does end up on a team like the Bills to play with his brother. There is small potential that he ends up on a team like the Chiefs to play with Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, these aren't insane chances, but at the same time, it is entirely possible that they view Dalvin Cook as a short-term asset that helps them win now. And I think Dalvin Cook is being slept on because the potential for Dalvin Cook is to finish as a running back 1 this season. And when you're at an ADP of 76, I think that is quite frankly ridiculous. I think Dalvin Cook is a huge value. I think Mattison is going to be soaring up these boards. We already saw it coming for a while with the Dalvin Cook release. We didn't know if he was going to be traded or released, what have you, but he ends up being released. Either way, I think Dalvin Cook is a supreme value where he's going off right now. Whatever offense he goes to, whether it be the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Bills, he will have a pretty big role because they are going to have to pay him at least a decent amount of money. I mean, this is still a top 10 running back in the NFL. We're talking about debatably top 5 running back in the NFL that we're talking about. So no matter what, I think both of these players deserve to be soaring up boards. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, go down, smash that like button. I'm answering every comment. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 way to support me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Either way, hope you guys have a good day, a good night, and a good life.